Hello and welcome to Learn Live Streaming. My name's John Lacey, and today on the show we're going to be talking about how we can take an existing horizontal multicam clip and repurpose that to be a vertical clip. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody that we are on that search to 1,000 subscribers, and the best place to watch is johnlacey.com/live. And at the moment, looking at this thing over here, looks like I'm sitting on 991 subscribers, so it's definitely a work in progress, but we're certainly getting there, so that's very exciting. I am going out live to various places today, so please let me know if you are watching live in the chat, where you're watching from and what you're up to. I know there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. So let's have a look at this clip that we'll be working with today, because I want to talk you through what I've done and what we're going to do today. So let's check it out. This is obviously DaVinci Resolve. I am using the studio version, the paid version. A lot of this stuff will also work in the free version as well. Hi, Michael. Says greetings from the boiling UK. Even though it's midnight, it's over 31 degrees. Oh, that sounds terrible. Saeed was sort of mentioning that it's been very, very hot there, so that's terrible. And I must admit, I keep hearing a lot of people say that air conditioning is not really a big thing over in Europe, which I think, as an Australian, I want to encourage you to maybe invest in that, because I think it'll make your life a little bit easier. But yes, try and stay cool no matter what you're up to. And so let's talk about this video clip. Let's talk about what I've already done, what I'm going to do. So this, and I've actually posted this video on LinkedIn, so you may have been one of the 4 people who have already seen it. But essentially, this is a multicam clip, and if you want to learn more about multicam, I did that in a previous stream. But essentially, it's just me as a talking head. I can just scroll through. In fact, I'll play a little bit of this to start with.
People often ask me why I like OBS Studio, and for me, there are kind of 2 dimensions to this, and I use this kind of mixed metaphor that OBS Studio...
Anyway, and so on and so forth. So I guess there are a couple of things to note. There are 2 recordings. One's out of a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, one's out of my phone. I have used DaVinci Resolve to sort of shot match these, although the way the phone and the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 work in low light is definitely different. And there's still a little bit of a difference, and I'm trying to convince myself... Well, I'm trying to decide if I want to get another Osmo Pocket 3 or an Osmo Pocket 4, if I want to wait till the end of the year for potentially a 4 Pro or 4P or whatever they're calling it. I keep asking DJI about that, but there's sort of no international release date in sight as far as I know. But essentially what's happening here is we've got these 2 clips. They're in this multi... actually, that's the audio. Let me just find the actual clip itself. So down here, we've got the multicam clip. It sort of goes between these 2 things. There is text on here at different points. You know, little things like that. Just something that pops up that says the output, which is just a standard text effect in DaVinci Resolve. I have also taken the audio from the Osmo, from the DJI Mic 3, and I've run it through another program, Hindenburg Pro 2. It has a voice profile feature, and it just makes it sound a little bit better. I imagine it's just EQ and compression. I'm sure I could probably reproduce that in DaVinci Resolve, but I'm just not that clever at the moment, so that was a good workaround. So I should note too, there are some keyframes in here because I've resized different things. But what we're going to do, and I was sort of debating whether to actually just start from scratch and recreate this, but I don't think we will today. I think we'll do something different. So I'm going to go up to my timeline. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say duplicate timeline. I'm going to rename this. I'll call it live version because it's the one we're editing. Hey Walter, how you doing? Walter writes, "Good evening, John. Just wanted to pop in for a while to hang out." Yeah, absolutely. Great to see you. So now I've got my existing timeline. I've got the live version. What I want to do before we get started is actually right click on that and go to timeline and go to timeline settings right at the top. And there are generally settings for an entire project. In this case, I want to actually change them. So I'm going to deselect this use project settings. And I'm actually just going to click this use vertical resolution option and click OK. All right. So now just going to double click, make sure I'm definitely inside of this one. Obviously, it's just thrown it in there, and some of that works better than others, but we will get to that in a second. One thing I do kind of want to do though is I know I've got some keyframe stuff happening here, and I kind of just want to get rid of it because I think it'll make our life a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. I'm just gonna
ask me why
I'm literally just gonna scroll through this and delete keyframes. That's all I'm gonna do. There's probably a better way of doing this. I'm not really sure what it would be off the top of my head.
They're kind of two.
Actually, I'll deselect it, so hopefully that'll show me all the keyframes.
People ask me why I like OBS Studio, and for me, there are kind of two dimensions to this, and I use this kind of mixed metaphor.
I saw some. Okay, that's just an arrow.
The OBS Studio is like a pocket knife in the sense that it's incredibly useful.
Actually, I'm not seeing the keyframes, so there's a really good chance there aren't any. So we might need to revisit this, but for the moment, I'm just going to leave it alone. What I do want to sort of point out though is this is a multicam clip, and if you do, it was a multicam clip. I guess actually what happens and what happened previously is that let me just see if I can reproduce this to show you what this looks like, because what I sort of had a go at doing this last night. So if I right click on here, okay. This is a problem. I should probably start from scratch for these projects. But essentially, what was happening previously was that because this is a single multi-track, even within a multi-cam track, I can sort of go into these different clips within it and sort of change properties about them. So at first, what I was doing was actually just resizing and repositioning. But the problem is it treats the multi-cam clip as an entire clip. So instead of just changing the properties of this particular option here, it was actually creating some keyframes. So there was all kinds of weird movement in here, which I didn't particularly enjoy. So I don't know that we need to do that again. In fact, I think it's already kind of happened. But what I did do was I went to my multicam clip. I went to this option up here called Flatten Multicam Clip. And this actually gives you two options. It says copying multicam grades. So if you've done any shot match, any color correction, you can keep that, or you can include the grades from the angles themselves, so the originals. And I went to copy multicam grades, and that did its thing for me. I'm kind of tempted to do that again. I'm gonna do that. Hopefully it won't break everything, but if it does, we can try again. So I'll click on that. All right, then it does its thing, and we've probably got all these as individual clips now. And the great thing about this is if I do make changes to these, it'll just be the individual clips. It won't be the entire thing. So what I can do, and I don't know, maybe I can zoom in a little bit more, or maybe make this a little bit, there we go. So I'll actually increase this. And I guess the thing to note about this is that I've actually named these after the files they came from originally. So if I select all the ones that start with vid, that's the thing that's actually coming out of, I think it was Open Camera on my phone. So I can find all the vid ones. And that should be all of them. And with them all selected, and I just held down Control to do that, I can sort of adjust the framing here. So I can go, I think minus 170 was what I arrived at previously. And you can see now I'm a little bit more in the frame. So That's all right. I think I might even tweak that later, but for the moment, I think that's fine. But now let's have a look at this one. So I guess for me, I kind of want myself to be the same size and roughly the same position, even with these two different angles. So what I will do, and again, I'll select all the ones that start with DJI, because they came from the Osmo Pocket 3. That's all of them. And this time I actually want to increase the zoom a little bit. I'm going to go to 1.3. And I think the position, again, you probably have to experiment with this a little bit, but because I kind of did a test run last night, I think minus 30 was pretty good. Maybe a bit more. Let's try minus 60 for the moment. All right. So now, and I think the great thing about having the zoom on this is I think I want to move myself up in the frame a little bit too. So let's try that. Say 200. It's probably a bit too tall. Maybe 100. No. Maybe 80. And again, I do like working with numbers in this way. I realize I could also just come in here and actually transform it and reposition these things. But I personally like working with numbers, and I like doing that in OBS too. So, all right. So we've got that. And it's already looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. So in this case, because it was just a talking head in the middle of a frame, roughly in the middle of the frame, I mean, the side shot is definitely not centered. But in this case, I think that works pretty well. Obviously, there are some elements of this that aren't going to work particularly well. The obvious one is that we have this text that says OBS Studio that pops up on the screen that's just a little bit too large. Again, I guess the easiest thing to do here would be just to resize this, and I can certainly do that. Maybe not that small. Let's say about 90. And I'm actually going to reset the position, because I think that will help center it as well. All right, awesome. So I could have that there. I could move it elsewhere. I could do anything with this text. I could put it over 2 lines. I could mask myself out and actually have it behind my head. Although I don't know. I don't think that would work particularly well. I think I like it here. It could be that I actually go in and actually pick a different effect, perhaps. Let's get rid of the media pool. So I could come in here and get a different bit of text to describe this. I could change the font. I could do any number of things. But I think so far, so good.
I like OBS Studio. And to me,
but I think that's okay. I think for our purposes, that's fine. What I actually do wonder about a little bit is I do have these little bits of text that pop up on the screen that say things like incredibly useful or extremely powerful, and the output. And to be honest, like, these are nice to have, but I don't know that they necessarily need to be super prominent. So they've kind of just defaulted at this size, and I actually don't think that's terrible, but let's actually keep going.
useful. But also, it's like a rocket ship in the sense that it can do literally anything.
Extremely powerful. Yeah.
And beginners can
I actually, I've done nothing to those text overlays, but I think they're fine the way they are. I really do. One thing that actually probably is a problem, which I didn't show you before, is that if I play through this little section with the OBS Studio text.
OBS Studio. And for me, there are kind of two...
Actually, even that's not that bad. So what happens in the horizontal clip is that it switches halfway through that text from one angle to the other, and I actually resize the text. In fact, this is probably potentially where there might be some keyframes. Let me just have a look at that. Let's have a look at our keyframes, because I have a weird feeling.
OBS Studio. And for me,
Okay, no, there aren't any. All right, let's not worry about that then. All right, so yeah, I guess the thing about the horizontal version is I switched the other version. In fact, let me show you. So if I go back to the media pool and we go to timeline 1.
we ask me why I like OBS Studio. And for me, there are teams now. And for me,
Okay, I must admit I've done a few different versions of this, but and it looks like I've changed it here. But there was a point at which I'd actually shrink this text a little bit to not coincide with me over here. So that is something I've done previously. But again, I don't know that we need to do it here. I don't think it's a problem for the live version. So let's go back to the live version that we're doing right now. So, I mean, so far, this has been pretty painless, and I just kind of want to make that point. Like, we've just taken something and put it into a different frame. And again, when I scheduled this live, I was thinking about all the different ways I could make this more interesting and have maybe 3 videos in a single column and have overlays and all kinds of stuff. And the minute I sort of just did that little bit, and admittedly, it helps if the video you're working with is of a high resolution. So if you are sort of cropping it and resizing it in this way, it sort of works. But I quickly sort of discovered I didn't really need to do too much more. So one thing I have done previously in the other version is I have generated some subtitles. Let me just enable that so you can see this. Obviously, these had a lot more space on a horizontal canvas than they do in the vertical. So let me just select one of those and go over to the track options. And again, let's just resize it. I will start at about, I don't know, 30, see what that looks like. And I should just go through and say some of these lines are a little bit longer than others. And I think maybe even just a little bit smaller, maybe 28, 26. And if I do want to actually have these burn onto the video, I might even make the background opacity just I might even make that solid. I might do that. I might even increase the width a little bit. And again, I don't know, something about this OBS Studio text here, I feel like I want to change it, but I'm not really sure what yet. But anyway, we've got our resized video. We've got our captions. I should probably play through this and check that it's all okay. But again, for today's purposes, I'm just going to roll with it. One other thing that, actually, I probably don't even need to do this. It's probably already in my media. Is I had this logo, which is sort of in the corner of my video in the horizontal version. I'm going to delete this here. And I've got another one, which is sort of more suitable for a vertical video. So I've got this here. I'll just drag that out to the end of the project. And we might even put our snapping on so I can get a better sense of where that is. Yep. And again, that's just a watermark in the top of the screen. Actually, I haven't dragged it right at the very beginning by the looks of things. Or maybe it's just... All right. Let me just go back here. I'll go trim in, and I'll actually just move back. Okay. So I've got that there. I should say too, like if this was too prominent, I do have a whole bunch of options that I can work with in terms of the composite mode. So I can just change the opacity. I can make that a little bit more see-through. If I really wanted it to be a proper watermark, I could do that. To be honest, I don't hate the way that looks. I think that works pretty well. And again, I'm just sort of checking that the text kind of all fits, because that is kind of a problem for me, is that I do have these long captions, and maybe it might even be worthwhile me regenerating these so it is a shorter caption that I can just have at a larger speed. I realize there's kind of accessibility components to all of this, which I probably need to familiarize myself with a little bit more, but that's all good. I'm just sort of looking at this, and it feels like I probably want to be a little bit more left in this frame. So I'm just going to grab all the videos that came from the phone, the vid ones. And again, like I'm trying to keep this really consistent, so it's not really too distracting. But obviously, you could come in and change all of these if you wanted to, like have motion, give the illusion that the camera was actually moving, cropping it or zooming it in different ways. What I will do though, I'm just going to go here to where it says 170, and I'm going to try 200. And again, I just want to see what that looks like in relation to the other clip. And I think that's okay. I mean, these are kind of creative choices more than anything, so I could spend the rest of time actually playing around with this stuff. So I guess what I wanted to sort of just call out is that if you do have a multicam clip, it is easy to use that wonderful flatten option. And that works really, really well. Okay. Yeah, let's break out of here so we can have a discussion about this one, because I think it's important. So Michael Business Class Ready writes, I've just pivoted on captions. Data apparently shows that single words on a screen actually get better user retention. You're not going to rank number one for it. Yeah. My theory about the world is that there are different people that want and need different things, and I see lots of people, especially in a TikTok context, that will just throw everything at you. There'll be a million cuts and words and things flashing on the screen every couple of every couple of seconds at least. And personally, I find that really annoying and kind of overwhelming as a sensory experience. And like in this case, this is just me talking. I'm not talking particularly quickly. And this, I should say too, this video that I'm showing you is literally a single take. Like there are no real edits. There are only switching between different camera angles here. So maybe the title I gave this one is a little bit misleading, because I'm not really, there's not a lot of editing in the sense that I'm cutting too much. So I know, like, and certainly in DaVinci Resolve, we actually have those caption options, the animated caption options. So let me just see if I can show you this quickly. So if I go to the library, the effects, and I don't know where these are exactly, but let me just see if I can search all folders, and we'll say caption. All right. I don't know exactly where those are, but essentially titles. Subtitles. Okay. I have a feeling that's actually just something I've downloaded from somewhere. Oh, there we go. Subtitles. And again, I don't know how many of these are actually DaVinci Resolve Blackmagic ones, or if this is something different. But essentially, in fact, I have a feeling these are just ones that I've downloaded from somewhere, which is kind of annoying. Animated. There we go. So Lollipop. Let me just try this. It'll probably look terrible. I don't love it myself, but I'm going to just try. And for the subtitle ones, you don't drag it onto the subtitle itself. You actually drag it onto the subtitle track. And now, if I hit play,
People often ask me why I
it's very small in this context, and maybe I need to increase the size of that. So, la 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 la. So we've got the lollipop settings. No, the generic ones. Do we have a font size of some description? Fonts. I don't know. Maybe I haven't had enough coffee, but I'm not seeing something to make that larger. But anyway, let me just hide the effects and the index.
Like OBS Studio.
It's probably not super obvious on the screen, but essentially the word that is being said is kind of being animated in real time. And you do actually need the studio version to pull this off, because it does have the timings, not just for the caption as a whole, but for individual words. So we do have that. I don't love that. Although the great thing about this is I can actually just turn this off and it should theoretically go back to what I had before, although it doesn't look like it's going to. If I delete that, there we go. Okay, I can delete it and go back to it. I guess, you know, to your point, like different people do want different things. And I think the trick is just to experiment with these things and see what makes sense. Michael also writes, single word on the screen stops their brain from trying to read ahead. I'm losing focus, admittedly. I've been doing the ones they do every day in edits. They haven't tried that in DaVinci Resolve yet. Yeah. Hello, Ernesto. I love how like the same 4 or 5 people are always in my chat, but they often have different usernames. So thank you for just letting me connect those dots. Happy Friday from Arizona. It's already Saturday here in Australia, so I hope you're having a good week. I know it's crazy hot in the UK at the moment, so try and stay cool. I don't know what the weather's like in Arizona, but I imagine it's probably quite warm there too. Yeah, so admittedly, like a lot of this is trial and error, but essentially what we've done now, we've got our captions, and again, it's up to you, because I guess the thing is for me, when I did the vertical version of this, I generated the captions, I exported the SRT file, I just go right click here and say export subtitles, and then I go down to subtitles without formatting. This is another weird thing that some platforms will acknowledge formatting in titles, in subtitles, and some won't. And if you just do the normal one with the SRT file and you've got like bold text in there, you'll actually see the little HTML B symbols around things, which is kind of weird. But anyway, and I guess the thing about this, though, is that if I wanted to, I can always regenerate different captions here as well. So if I go to Timeline, AI Tools, create subtitles from audio, I can tell it what language. I should probably set my default language. Good grief. Ernesto is saying it's 41.6. 7 degrees Celsius in Arizona. Good week though. So Michael was saying, I think it was like 31 degrees, but it's also midnight in his part of the world, so that's kind of intense. So I guess the thing about these subtitles is that we can create other ones. I can sort of say how many characters per line. I can do single or double lines. So if I did want to sort of do these shorter, I could potentially do that. So if I go, I don't know, maybe 9 characters. Well, I don't know about 9. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do it 18, but I'll leave this single. I normally do double. Let's just try this. And through the power of AI on my personal device, not being fed up to the cloud, we will see that we will have this here, hopefully. Oh, it's still going? Okay. So now, this will probably be a little bit confusing. So what I'll do is I will... Oh, okay. I think it's actually overwritten my existing ones, which I don't love. So I might just go Control-Z to undo that. But potentially we could have fewer words on the screen. We could have this change more quickly if we needed to. All right. So again, I'm just going to recap a little bit just because I know some people have just joined us. But essentially what we've done today is I've taken timeline 1, which is this one here, which again, I think 3 or 4 people might have seen on LinkedIn because the algorithm loves me so much that nobody's seeing my content over there, but it is what it is. I've had this multicam clip that I've sort of edited here. We're just switching between 2 camera angles. One's from a phone, one's from a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I did try to incorporate a little bit of mood lighting. So there's actually a little Ulanzi light behind the couch, which is emanating this blue light. There was also a light stick, which is practically like a lightsaber out of Star Wars, which I put on this side to sort of lighten myself a little bit. I will say, even after sort of shot matching these things, you can, there is like, it's very similar, but it's not exactly the same. And if I knew more about color grading, I could probably go in and fix that. But I am thinking about potentially just going out and buying another camera to match the one I've already got. But essentially, we go through this, and you know, we've got text, we've got some of these call outs, and all I've really done is I've duplicated this timeline, and I renamed it to the live version. I went into the, I right click on this, go to timeline settings. Normally this use project settings will be on by default because there's an assumption that you'll use all the same settings for everything. Deselect this one, change it to vertical. And then we have our live version. And if I double click into that, that will load it. And I've made a number of different changes. The big one is to actually flatten this multicam clip, because the thing about this, and I realized I wasn't able to show you because I'd actually flattened it previously, but when this is a multicam clip, this will treat the entire clip as a single clip. And if you want to make changes such as sort of cropping and zooming, it'll actually produce keyframes for all of these. And if you were feeling really pedantic, you could probably, you know, have a starting keyframe, have an ending keyframe, have a starting, like, for every single clip, which would be incredibly fiddly, although I've definitely done stuff like that before, so it's possible. But the big thing for me was to select the multicam clip, and I have to sort of pretend that this is multicam at this point to show you what this looks like. In fact, I don't even have the option anymore, so it's been flattened, and you do have 2 options. You can flatten it with the color correction, the color grade that you've done, if you've done one, or you can just have it default to whatever the old angles look like. So we did that. We resized that. Again, a lot of this was just picking, and the great thing about this was the other thing that I did too was that when I created the multicam, I actually told it to use the file names as the labels for these. So that worked out really, really well too. So I can literally just go in and select these, and, you know, if I want to move it, you know, slightly left or right or up or down or zoom in a little bit, I can definitely do that. Yeah, I should take this moment to make a plea to, I have to be careful because I'm getting really impatient and I'm annoying DJI on social media a little bit too much. Michael writes, you're pushing your justification for the new DJI Pro, DJI 4 Pro, I feel. Yes, I mean, I would love that, although a part of me is thinking, because I was so close to just ordering a DJI Osmo Pocket 4 on Friday, but a part of me is thinking, like, should I just get another 3 so that they're more likely to match, you know, just in terms of the quality. And the new gimbal thing and the little handle, it just makes me a little bit nervous. I don't know. Business Growth Ready writes, I think it works a bit like Beetlejuice. If you say DJI Pocket 4 Pro, presumably 3 times, or 4 times apparently, DJI hears you and then sends you a camera. I mean, it'd be great if that were true. And there are so many YouTube channels, and admittedly, I'm not that important in the scheme of things, evidently, but so many people get sent cameras every week, and I'm like, wow, you're living the dream. But also, I feel like they're just a cog in the capitalist machine to some extent. Like, they will always tell you everything is wonderful. And I think sometimes, is it though? Is it? But anyway, I mean, I should say too that we are kind of blessed to have really good technology these days. So that is really cool as well. So, all right, I'm going to press this magical button. Hopefully it'll work. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is our foray into DaVinci Resolve and sort of repurposing that clip. And again, I kind of came up with this idea in the middle of the week, and I only like to stream if I've got something I really want to show you or work on. And in my head, I thought, I'd have to do a billion more things, but I was surprised at how quickly this came together. And I think possibly for the simple fact that there was so much space around me, that it wasn't already a super duper close up version of me, that it was, and that, the quality was pretty good to start with. I feel like this actually works pretty well. But again, I guess this is the point at which you could make some creative decisions. So, like, even this, I don't know, something about this is annoying me. Like, it just says OBS Studio. It sort of flashes up on the screen with a transition.
I like OBS Studio.
And, like, I kind of either want to make this more prominent or I want to make it more subtle. And I'm not really sure which way I want to go. Because a part of me would be really tempted. In fact, let's do it. Because we're really just playing at this point, I just want to see... I do have this track. I'm going to move this track down. Actually, no, I won't. I'll leave it where it is. But what I will do is I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I'm going to drag this up. I hope that's still in the right position. And let's actually go over to... we could potentially do this in Fusion or Color, but I tend to do this in the Color page. And I really hope this is the right... This is the point at which I will get confused. I don't know if I can... What track are we actually on? So Video 3. All right. Video 3, V3 is essentially what I'm looking for here. And I can't really see it. Oh, I have to scroll. V3, 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 V3. I don't know. Is that... Oh, I thought I saw it. Where was it? V3, V3. It's probably right in front of me. I haven't had enough coffee. V1, V4, V3. There it is. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Let's hit the magic mask button, which is one of these. This one here, little face. I'm going to click on me. I'm going to click a few points. What I will do though too is I will click on this magical toggle mask overlay option, and you'll see that it's kind of making what I select pink. Interestingly, you can actually see the on LED there in a way that I didn't see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to add a node, and I'm going to add an alpha output, and I'm going to drag this from here to here. And now you can already sort of see what's happening here. Although the thing I did forget to do, let's make sure we're on V3 again. Actually track forward and back. So it'll go through this and just double check that it is doing its thing in all the various places. And part of the reason why I did this on a single clip and only a little bit of a clip is because if I did this for the whole clip, it would slow everything down. So I only really want this little bit here. But now we can sort of see this OBS Studio behind me, although I think probably what we want to do is kind of make this a little bit more prominent. And I probably grabbed the wrong clip there, to be honest. But who cares? We'll just roll with it for today's purposes. So I'm going to actually put in a line break. Let's make this bigger. Again, I don't know. This is perhaps not the greatest example of this because I don't. My big fat head is probably going to obscure a lot of this, but potentially we could sort of put something in here and go a little bit. I don't know. Maybe something like that. It's sort of competing a little bit for that as well. So again, somebody in the comments is is noting it's a lot of hard work, brother. Yeah, I mean, potentially it is. I do like editing, and that's kind of the thing I'm kind of passionate about at the moment. So, I mean, there are all kinds of tools out there. There's all kinds of AI stuff if you just want to churn stuff out. But I actually really do enjoy doing this by hand. I say by hand. I mean, I've obviously using technology, but I do really enjoy working in this fashion. And I guess, like, for me, I'd probably want to break this up over to, like, a multi-text, perhaps. In fact, let's do that. Let's get rid of this. Let's actually go to our effects and to our, get rid of the media pool. So let's go to our, in fact, I'm just going to search for it. So we'll just go text, and I'll grab the multi-text. I'll throw this in here. And now, if I click on that, we've got our text. I'm going to say OBS. And again, make that a little bit larger. Okay. And reposition it, which I think I need to do in layout. And again, I do need to be a little bit careful because, you know, obviously I might need to get rid of this watermark. I might need to do something different with it. And a lot of this is just tweaking and just deciding what you want to do. Because I might even make this smaller and then actually just adjust the tracking, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, I'm really not feeling this as a solution, but I just wanted to note that it is possible in the studio version to do the magic mask and then potentially put something underneath it. So I could do that there, and I could actually add another bit of text. I say that, it's not reacting at all. There we go. Okay. So point layout. Okay, cool. So here I could go studio. And same sort of thing, just reposition it, resize it, whatever I need to do. But anyway, like at this point in time, I'm just sort of tweaking things and seeing what I want to do. And I don't think that's the right solution here. Like I could potentially make this clip a little bit smaller, but again, I'd have to be mindful of the fact that this one is also underneath it. So, and just to give you a sense of that, actually, if I go in and change the opacity of this one, which is the original clip underneath it, you'll see that we literally just have me here. So I could maybe just put a solid background there. I could resize it. I could do all kinds of stuff. It's something that I probably need to go and think about how I want to wrangle this. But leaving this little bit of multi-text to one side, I think all in all, I like the way this has come together. And again, I realize I probably skipped over the multicam stuff, and the reason I've done that is because I've done that in a previous live stream. So if you do want to check that out, go and check it out. The important thing about the multicam, in fact, while we're here, and maybe we should revisit this. So again, I've got, I just need to be a little bit mindful that I'm getting the right clips, but I think essentially DJI and vid, I can select those two. I can say create new multicam clip using selected clips, and I'll say multicam live demo. We've got a whole bunch of these settings. A lot of the times I just let DaVinci Resolve figure this out, but the important one here is the angle sync. So if you've got timecode, great, use timecode, but I have sound. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to match these things up together. And even though they do have different audio sources, one of these does have a DJI mic and one of them, the phone just has the ambient noise in the room, it will still figure this out. So we can do that. There's an option to move source clips to original clip bin. I don't like to use that. I don't even really know why I don't like to use that. But I just don't. I just don't want you to move stuff. And then we can change the angle name. Again, I like to do it with the file name, and because these are named DJI and vid, I sort of know which is which. So from this point, I can go create. And then if I create a new timeline, and I can actually sort of create a new one from this. So if I right click on this, I can go create new timeline using selected clips. And I'll say multicam live demo. I'll call it 2. I don't know how many I've done here, but anyway. And then it's a good idea to actually hide the inspector while we do this and bring up the side by side. Which is not something I do very often, so I've already forgotten how it works. But anyway, oh, here we go. This one here. So I want side by side. And we want to change this one to be the multicam. And I guess the first thing to note about this is there is a period of time between me selecting record on one of these cameras and on the other. So you'll see that one of these is actually blank before we get there. And then they're both there. And I can sort of just come in here and, you know, we have these options to insert video and audio or just video. I find this is a little bit hit and miss, if I'm being completely honest, because even if I have video only, and I say, okay, I want to start with this angle, you'll see that it's, even with that video only option, it is still selecting, it is still changing the audio as well. And for me, that's not really a big deal here because I'm just going to replace the audio anyway. But I really, in fact, maybe I feel like, because these clips are unlinked anyway, that is a weird quirk. And I think even if I go to the cut page, and I turn on video only, I go source. No, it's just going to take me through everything. I don't know. I have found that weird, and I've been watching a lot of tutorials and that, and I can't, for the life of me, make sense of that. What I ultimately do, though, is after I've made all my cuts, I just select all the audio and I just change the audio angle. So switch multicam angle back to the DJI because that's the audio I want to use. A couple of things about this, though, is that if we... And I'll just go 2, and I'll go forward a little bit, and I'll switch back to a different one, and I'll switch to the other one, and we've got this, and it's sort of good to go. So we can make those changes. And again, you'll see that... when I do switch to this angle, it goes to the phone audio, which sounds terrible. I hate it. So I just right-click in here and I go back to the DJI version. All right, so I feel like we've got a little bit of time. So I'm actually going to revisit some things I've already looked at. And let's just pretend that this is the clip the way we want it. Let's go over to the color tab. We've got this one. We've got this one. So this is from the DJI Pocket 3, I think. Yes, that's the front angle. And this is from the phone. And what I can actually do is I can select these phone angles and hold down Control. And I can right click on the one that I want to use as a reference. And I can go up to shot match this clip. And you'll see that it's already sort of changed how this looks. And especially if you're working with different cameras, this can be a really good way of making sure that they're similar. And you can sort of see the original clip up here versus the color shot version here. So like this was really, really bright and it's made it darker. It could be that you use that as a starting point and you still potentially want to make it brighter or darker or do all the things that you can do in the color page. That's always an option. But I guess the other thing too, and I could ripple delete this stuff here at the beginning because we don't really want that. And once I've got that there, I can actually do that flatten option. So the flatten multicam clip, and again, it's giving me the option to use what I've done in the color tab, which is this first option, coloring multicam grades or retaining the original grades from the footage. And again, in this case, I want to copy them. And once it's done that, I can sort of treat these as individual clips. And at that point, I can crop, I can zoom, I can rearrange things, and I can even potentially come in here and this one here, so I can go and check out my timeline settings. And again, if I wanted to, I could make this vertical and I could sort of revisit all the things that we've already looked at in the last hour or so. So all kinds of things. Again, you can put as much time or as little time into this as you want, but I think the point I was trying to make really with today's show is just that it is really, it's, you know, if you've already got a horizontal video, it's relatively easy to make these changes. So I'm going to press one of these magical buttons on my Stream Deck. We'll come back in a second and wrap this up. Problem with those clips is sometimes I just find myself vibing a little bit too much to the music and forget to press the button again. But anyway, I hope this has been interesting and or helpful. You know, we are sort of moving towards those 1,000 subscriber mark. So if this is of any interest to you whatsoever, please hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. That would be much appreciated. And it looks like a couple of people have, looking at 993 at the moment as I've just refreshed the screen. So thank you so much for your support. I know I haven't been doing these quite as often as I had in the past, but hopefully we'll do some more in the future. I tend to cover things like OBS Studio, DaVinci Resolve, and sort of content creation more generally. If there's something you're interested in or want to learn more about, please let me know. And, you know, at some point, I probably will have more cameras to play with, so I'll be sure to share those with you. In a perfect world, I would sort of snap my fingers and have the DJI Pocket 4 Pro here on Monday, but that's not going to happen. I think that's going to be more of a Christmas thing at this point in time, looking at what's going on in the world, but that's okay. I do have the Osmo Pocket 3. It's still a wonderful camera. It's still great. I just need to get out and use it a little bit more often. I just love the idea of having multiple camera angles, especially with this whole DaVinci Resolve workflow. So have a great week, everybody. Have a great weekend when you get there. Try to stay cool if you are in a hot part of the world. I was very thankful that it was only about 17 degrees Celsius here yesterday, so it's nice and chilly. In fact, I'll probably wrap this up and go put a jumper on. But have a good one. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you.